What's happened? What did you do with that child? He is a completely different child today. Then I have a schizophrenic brother. I have 9 siblings. My schizophrenic brother was on the streets for 25 years. 25 years on and off the streets, in and out of hospitals. I have 9 siblings. Family is the tether to reality for mentally ill people. We tried to get him in and out of places. We tried everyone to no avail. In and out, no stability, in and out, on and off the streets, all over the country. He landed in Los Angeles 6 years ago. I thought the Ho'oponopono prayer, what a beautiful opportunity. He was in the mental hospital. I went to go visit him after he was picked up off the streets getting some medical care, as we know they do when they're broken. And I went in there and I said, Matthew, we were so close as kids. We were like triplets. I'm an identical twin, and my brother's a year older. And I said, I love you, Matt. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you were on those streets for all those years. I'm so sorry you were in bushes and I didn't know where you were. I love you and I'm sorry. Please forgive me for not being there for you. And as we know, parents get tired of mentally ill people. They just leave them alone. My parents were sick and tired of Matt being on and off drugs, on and off the streets, on and off medications. They were tired. They give up. Families give up. And I thought, I'm not going to give up on Matt. I love you, Matt, and I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you every day I went to his hospital. I love you. I'm so sorry that you had this illness and I wasn't there for you. Please forgive me. And thank you for being such a great brother, because he was so kind, such a loving, loving soul. His essence, I saw past his illness. I saw him in his purity. So anyhow, I kept doing this over and over again. And again, we are more energy than matter and more wave than particle. And when he was sideways, I kept seeing in my mind him as this 10-year-old little boy climbing a tree. I kept seeing this in my mind. Matthew is this innocent little child climbing a tree. And I kept seeing him in his purity and his innocence. I kept seeing him in the highest version of who I knew he was. And he said, how come when I'm around you, Susan, I always have memories of climbing trees? See, they can pick up what you see. They can pick up that you're seeing them in their illness or in their wellness. So I chose every time I saw Matt to clear and clean. Because when I studied Dr. Hugh Lin says it all starts between, Dr. Hugh Lin's the doctor who healed the whole criminally insane mental ward. And what you don't understand is it starts between our ears. We have to take 100% responsibility for seeing people in their illness or in their wellness. I have to take 100% responsibility for not seeing people as the highest version of who they are. And that's not easy to do when they're violent and they're hurting and they're lashing out and they're dirty and they're violent and they're screaming. It was very hard for me to love my son when he was violent and when he was angry. And as we know, hurt people hurt people. Hurt people are hurting. Hurt people are unplugged from the universe, God, higher power, whatever it is. Their foot is on the hose. If they knew better, they would do better, but they're hurting. They're hurting and they're lashing out because they're unplugged. Their foot is on the hose of any good in their lives. And so for me, I just understand not to take anything personally. I love the 4 agreements. What anyone says or does is a reflection of who they are, not who I am. And just hurt people. And so I had to learn how to master staying in love and above. We have 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day. And 90% of those thoughts are the same as yesterday and the day before and the day before. And I had to learn how to master staying in love and above, because loving thoughts go into loving feelings go into loving choices, Loving choices go into loving actions and behaviors. And I get to model staying in love and above for my brother. When I went in, I mastered love and above, no judgment, no criticism, no deprecate, just staying in love and above, and actively ignoring. I learned this from a therapist, to actively ignore what I don't want, actively ignore the illness and choose to see him in his wellness. And that was not easy when my son was having 2 or 3 hour tantrums. How do I actively ignore that? I would walk away. I would step away. Whatever we focus on grows. I didn't want to give him an audience. So I would literally remove myself from the situation. So I encourage you to do the Ho'oponopono prayer, and I started doing it with myself too. I volunteered at the Salvation Army when I was in my 20s in San Francisco, and I would lead classes there, and I would pass a mirror around to all the men in Salvation Army, and I had them look in their own eyes, look in their own eyes in the mirror. And in my workshops, I pass around mirrors, and I have people look deeply in their own eyes and say, I love you. I really, really love you. And most of us can't even look in our own eyes. I know I couldn't. I know that I was super critical and judgmental of myself. So I encourage you to look in your own eyes and say, I love you and I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. And thank you we're so hard on ourselves. We're so critical of ourselves. I love you and I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And thank you for being you. I love you and I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you for being you. And I work from the inside out rather than the outside in. And my husband's in politics. I say I work from the inside out rather than the outside in. And I believe that we can move the needle through prayer, through visualization, doing the mental rehearsal, every thought is a prayer. Every thought is a prayer. And if you've never read Lynn McTaggart's book, The Power of Eight, Lynn McTaggart didn't believe in prayer. And she's a scientist. And she got all it takes is 8 people together to focus. She worked on a third world country in the government and hundreds of years of civil war. And through 8 people, they moved the needle. And if you've never read The Power of Eight, it only takes 8 people to move the needle, to hocus pocus focus, to hocus pocus focus. So does anyone have any questions about the Ho'oponopono prayer and Dr. Hugh Lin or anything that I'm mentioning here? Does anyone have any questions here in the audience? Is that cool? Are you guys, isn't that, they wrote a book called Zero Limits. About the prayer. Dr. Hugh Lin died in January. He lived in Los Angeles. He lived in Hawaii and then moved. And the Ho'oponopono prayer actually healed his daughter from a very strange illness where she was bleeding from her knees and her elbows. And the Ho'oponopono prayer healed her son, his daughter. And that's how he discovered the prayer. And literally the criminally insane mental ward did close down. Everyone did get better, but one person. Everyone did get better, and the staff members quit leaving. And all the men got better and left the ward. Isn't that the most incredible story ever? So try and Google Dr. Hugh Lin on YouTube, and you can listen to his talks. And it's about taking 100% responsibility, that it starts between our ears. Look at people in their wellness. Because I know for my brother, he's so used to being shoulded on. Matt, you should take your medicine. Matt, you shouldn't smoke so many cigarettes. And I took classes at NAMI, and what I learned is the LEAP method. The LEAP method is an incredible tool for schizophrenics and other people. And the LEAP method, and this therapist discovered the LEAP method because his brother was schizophrenic and he wouldn't follow protocol. And what the LEAP method is listen, empathize, agree, partner. because these schizophrenics and mentally ill are so used to being shoulded on, my brothers and sisters. For my brother, I told him, Matt, if you take your medication, he lives at the Manor. If you guys have never been to the Manor, it's across from Santa Monica College. And my brother lives there, and it's a fabulous place. They give him their meds. They have a therapist that comes there, psychiatrist. My brother is doing very well there. And I said, Matt, if you take your medication, I will buy you all the cigarettes you want. So I give him cigarettes because I learned in NAMI that schizophrenics actually don't make nicotine. Did you know we all have natural nicotine in our brain? And schizophrenics don't make as much nicotine, so they need cigarettes. So I discovered that from NAMI, so researched nicotine in cigarettes, and my brother needs cigarettes, and it helps the mental chatter cease because he has delusional thoughts, and the nicotine calms down that, and I learned that from NAMI. So I said, my brothers and sisters are like, you shouldn't buy him cigarettes, Susan, you're enabling him, you're doing this, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And my brother's doing so well because I don't should on him. I don't should on him. I just, Matt, I love you. And I did so, I sent some nicotine papers to my family members so they understand now. And my brothers and sisters would be shaming and blaming Matt. And they're always looked at as being broken. So anyhow, so we don't shut on him, but let me get it back to the LEAP method. Listen, empathize, agree, and partner. Listen to Matt. God, that's hard, Matt, trying to find medication. That's got to be so hard finding the right medication and how this medication does this for you or that. Listen, that must be so hard, and empathize. Listen, empathize, and agree. That must be so hard trying to find the right match and the right medication. That must be so hard. Let's partner together, Matt. Should we go to a different doctor? Should we try a different medicine? How can I help you? Oh, Matt, they were closing down a board and care that he was on in 3rd in California. Matt, he was panicked because they were closing down the board and care for him on 3rd in California. They closed it down. I said, let's partner together, Matt. We can do this together. And I know this guy, Sam, who actually has a number for 2,000 to 3,000 board and cares in LA. So I called Sam. See, we do this together. We partner together. Community builds immunity. Community builds immunity. So I researched it, and we found the Manor for Matt, and I went and interviewed, and Matt's there doing so well. But I listen and I empathize and agree and partner, and I know family is the tether to reality. So I take him out for lunch or dinner once a week, and I just listen. I empathize. I agree that's got to be hard, Matt, and I partner. I don't shame, I don't blame. I just stay in love and above, because they're so used to being pointed at and focused on being broken and wrong. Isn't that beautiful, the LEAP method? You can also Google that on a gentleman that he, using the LEAP method, got his schizophrenic brother to take medicine and follow the protocol. And he gave a TED Talk, the guy on the LEAP method, which I learned at NAMI, which you guys know, NAMI, I've taken classes there. I used to go there because I was so broken about my brother, and I was so broken about my son being diagnosed bipolar, so I would go to NAMI classes. But I found the Ho'oponopono prayer and the LEAP method really, really, really amazing. Okay, so now, you guys, I'm also a life coach and a hypnotherapist, so I had clients coming to me. A lot of them had schizophrenic children, schizophrenic siblings. So I'll share with you a couple miracles. One of my clients had a son that was on PCH in an RV for years, doing crystal meth. He was in an RV for years and years and years. The mother's a dear friend of mine. She's 75. I told her about the Ho'oponopono prayer. I told her about doing the mental rehearsal. I call it the end game. Every morning, closing your eyes and seeing your child in his wellness. Imagination is our biggest tool. Just so you know, 95% of what happens in our lives is from our subconscious mind. I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist. 95% of what happens in our lives is from our subconscious mind. And that's fired and wired from the ages of 1 to 7. That's fired and wired from the ages of 1 to 7. That's why we keep doing the same thing over and over again, same actions, same feelings, same choices, attracting people like mom and dad because they're familiar. And we keep doing the same thing over and over again. But how do we change our subconscious mind? Through imagination and repetition. And even Einstein said imagination is more profound than intelligence. Use your imagination to see people in their wellness. So I did this with my client, imagining her beautiful son in his wellness and his wholeness, and Ho'oponopono prayer him. Use it as a mantra. I love you and I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. I love you. I'm sorry you're on crystal. I'm sorry you've been in that RV for years and years. I love you and I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. And I see him in his wellness and his wholeness. Use your imagination to see him in his wellness and the highest vibration of who he is. Long story short, after it's not instant coffee, after about 3 to 6 months, he is now off med. He's off crystal meth. He is out of that RV. He is off crystal meth. He bought his mom a car, 75 years old. He works down at San Pedro on the docks. He has a job. He still hears voices. He doesn't want to be on medication, but he hears voices and knows that's okay. But right now his family's together again. He's with his father, his mother, and his sibling, and his sister has children, and they're all together. And this was her one wish before she died. She's still alive, but she's aging now. She had an open heart surgery a couple months ago, but her family's together. And it's from the Ho'oponopono prayer, and it's from doing the mental rehearsal and the visualizations. I have another client, her brother was disappeared in Europe. They couldn't find him. He was also schizophrenic. We did the Ho'oponopono prayer. We did the mental rehearsal. And when you do the mental rehearsal in the end game and smell, feel, touch, taste, hears, if they're in their wellness, you have to marry it with elevated emotion. You have to wake up as if your prayers have already been answered. You have to wake up as if your prayers have already been answered. You have to believe. You have to believe. You have to have faith the size of a mustard seed that this wellness can heal. I did this every morning with my son. I closed my eyes, imagining my son in his wellness. I smelled it. I touched it. I tasted it. We make our beliefs, and then our beliefs make us. And a belief is just a thought we keep thinking over and over and over again. We make our beliefs, and then our beliefs make us. And a belief is just a thought we keep thinking over and over and over again. And unchecked, I go into sloppy beliefs. I go into disbelief. Remember, we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day. And most of those thoughts are the same as yesterday and the day before. And I believe we can move the needle. I do believe that we can see people in their wellness and their wholeness. I do believe in miracles and that the Ho'oponopono prayer can heal people. And I do believe that we can change people on the streets and see them in their wellness. And I do believe that love is the number one healer. I do believe love, unconditional love, is the number one healer. Does anyone have any questions about the LEAP method, about the Ho'oponopono prayer, about doing mental rehearsal and marrying it with elevated emotion, and wake up as if your prayers have already been answered? Does anyone have any questions? Please. Oh, thank you for asking. NAMI is NAMI is the National Association for the Mentally something, I forget. The NAMI is National Association for the Mentally Ill, and it's at Edelman Center. It's at the Edelman Center, and they have an 8-week course if you have relatives or friends that have mental illness, and they give you a bunch of solutions, and that's how I found out about nicotine. And it's a course for family members to support them, and it's online and live. I did it live for a while, and it's an 8-week course. but they offer a bunch of different classes. I would definitely check out the Edelman Center. It's a great resource, really good resource. Does anyone have any questions? Isn't this cool stuff? Isn't this awesome?
Think about the care court.
Sorry?
What do you think about the care court laws that the state's enacting?
And tell me about the care court laws. What are they enacting?
It's been in the paper. The governor, I think, signed it into law, although there's been a challenge, and there's a court where people who are on the street who are suffering from schizophrenia and related illnesses under DSM would be eligible, there's a lot of details, but in effect, they could pretty much be forced into treatment even if they're not a threat to themselves.
Okay. So what she, just so everyone in Zoom land can hear, this beautiful woman asked me about the CARE Act and about being able to force people into a facility or into a program against their will, and what my thoughts about that are. Gosh, that's a loaded question. I believe, for me, I think that's wonderful, because with my brother, we could not force him. It's very hard for the laws to go and, what do you call that when you can make decisions for your brother or your
Like a conservatorship or something.
conservatorship. It's very hard to get conservatorship. It's almost impossible. So I think that's a wonderful idea. I do believe that with schizophrenics, they do need some support, and it's almost impossible to get conservatorship, almost impossible. And I know for my clients, I've worked with maybe 5 or 6 families with schizophrenic children, and they've had so many challenges getting conservators. So to make it easier, I think that's brilliant. And what do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I basically agree with that, because I think there's the families who have to deal with the mentally ill just don't really have much in the way of support legally, because they don't have at this time the ability to start a conservatorship for schizophrenia. That would be LPS, so that has to be started by health provider,
Yes.
public guardian, and so the family doesn't have any control over that. But there's a lot of pushback, from PCLD.
So everyone in Zoom land, it seems like a few members here are for the CARE Act. Yes. So I think that we can get as many people that we can get involved in getting them some help. I think the better. And does anyone else have any questions?
There's a question on Zoom
Yes,
from
Teresa?
Mary. The LEAP, is it LEAD or LEAP?
LEAP method?
LEAP?
Yes.
Okay. Please give more information regarding this method.
Oh, great. So the LEAP method, if you email me at foxleyyoga@gmail.com, I will send you the YouTube video on the LEAP method. I also blogged about it. I'm a weekly blogger. And if you go to susanfoxley.com and Google the LEAP method, I get into more specific detail about the doctor he was a MFT, that the LEAP method really helped his brother who was schizophrenic. So feel free to email me at foxleyyoga@gmail.com, and I will respond back with the TED Talk around that specifically. But the LEAP method is really about dropping into the map of the person's world. And I'm going to teach you guys matching and mirroring. Matching and mirroring is another beautiful tool to get rapport and gain rapport with people that are struggling. And I'll give you an example. My son is now in tech, and he came to my home. He's moved up to Northern California, and he's doing very well. And he came to me and he was frustrated. He's, Mom, I'm in front of that computer for hours and hours and hours doing tech, and I'm just so exhausted, and it's so frustrating, and to be in front of that computer for so long. So I matched and mirrored him. I go, oh my gosh, I put my hands like he did. That must be so hard. And I use the LEAP method, listen, empathize, agree. That must be so hard being in front of that screen for so long. That's got to be so tough. I can't imagine. Ben, that's got to be so frustrating. What can we do together? What can we do together? And what we did, we decided that he was going to cut down his hours on a weekly basis so he wasn't in front of the computer. I used the LEAP method, listen, empathize, agree, and partner. But matching people's postures. If someone's crossing their legs, you cross your legs with them. If they're playing with their hair, you play with your hair. It builds rapport. And it also gets me out of my head about judging them. And then I get to use the voice intonation that they're using. And so I'll give you an example. Here's a good example. I'm remarried. You know, I was widowed at 30. I'm remarried, and I've been with my husband for almost 10 years, and we're very, very happily married. We have an incredible marriage. But I was alone for many years raising my son and just really focused on his wellness. But my husband writes news for KTLA. So he would come home at night like, oh, I've just had it with the news. I've had it with the shootings and the fires and the earthquakes and I've just had it. I've had it. And so when he'd come home at midnight, right, I'm exhausted, I'd put up my arms like him. I can't even imagine. That's got to be so frustrating. Oh my gosh, with the news and the fires and the political divisiveness, that's got to be so frustrating, John. I can't even imagine. And so I wasn't reactive, like calm. Part of me wanted to say, calm down. But he ran up the stairs and gave me the biggest hug and said, God, Susan, I love you. He immediately felt a connection to me because I was matching and mirroring and seeing him I was matching his energy. And so when you match and mirror people in their energy, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel validated when you start using their tone of voice. If someone's whispering and I'm just feeling so hurt, Susan, and so frustrated. And then you match and mirror, oh, I can see, and you put your hand over the heart like they were, I can see why you feel really hurt and really frustrated. I can see that. And you match and mirror using their same words. And for me, it gets me out of my judgment and into my body, because I know I spend 90% of my day from the neck up, always thinking, judging, criticizing, whatever. And jumping down into our bodies and matching and mirroring those people really builds rapport. It's an amazing tool to match and mirror. I've seen miracles around this. I've seen miracles because people feel really validated. Isn't that a cool tool? Isn't that awesome, you guys? Okay, so
Can I share something?
please.
LA Times had written that 40% of the nation's most profoundly mentally ill are on the streets in LA County. 40% of the nation's. So there is so many people on our streets that are schizophrenic and profoundly ill with large problems. And outreach workers encounter that all the time. That and caseworkers and where people lash out at them. How do those staff members put that aside and go home and embrace and love their families, when you've been kind of beat up, throughout the day?
That's a great question. I'm going to repeat the question for Zoom people out there. And the question is that people are out there on the front lines and they're being beat up. I can't imagine during COVID, just the beat up people, they're violent, they're angry, they're spitting, and just the stuff that you have to witness on a daily basis being in those front lines. I can't even imagine. That's just so, and how do you go home after experiencing all that stuff? And it's almost like PTSD. It's post-traumatic stress disorder, where you go home and you have all that trauma all over you. You have the trauma, the memories. How do you process all that stuff that you've seen? It's like being in a bad movie all day and then going home and you have to give to your family, feed your children, do all this stuff that you need to do to take care of the ones you love. And we can't pour from an empty cup. We have to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first, and that's very hard to do. So for me and my small little world of dealing with mentally ill people, for me, I know that I have to take a bath every night in the Epsom salt. I have to. If you have a bathtub, get into a bath. I walk a lot. I have to be outside. I have to be out in fresh air. I take a lot of walks to clear and clean my mind. And again, we can't pour from an empty cup. We have to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first and take care of ourselves, and doing that time out, getting body work, doing 10 minutes of stretching during the day, taking care of ourselves first. And it's so hard for us because I know for me, I used to describe myself as a car driving. All my tires are popped, my transmission has dropped, my tank is on empty, and I'm picking up hitchhikers because I am a natural healer. I love fixing people. I think I can fix people. I've been in Al-Anon 25 years, and they say in Al-Anon, you didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and you can't control it. You didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and you can't control it. Well, then what can I do? But I do believe that we can go out and send prayers to other people. I do believe prayer works. I do believe that sending out wellness thoughts can work. But I do believe that I do have to come from a full place. And if I'm that car with 4 pop tires and the transmission falling in empty tank, and I'm picking up hitchhikers, I'm just going to get resentful. I know for me, I'm going to get resentful if I'm not taking care of Susan. So I think really for me, it's about boundaries, because I am in the caretaking business too. I'm not on the front lines, and I have no idea how. I mean, I'm with a lot of people. I work with people with ALS. I work with people, I teach, my eldest client is 88 years old. So I work with people with going through chemotherapy, through stomach cancer, through arthritis, I work with a lot of people with physical ailments. And I focus on, first of all, working with our thoughts. So actually, I'm writing a book called The Real Love Diet. And what I do is I give my clients a rubber band. And so I'm going to pass this around to everybody, and they get to pick a rubber band and put it around your wrist for 1 week. And we're going to do this experiment where you wear a rubber band around your wrist for 1 week, and you snap it if you have an unloving thought towards yourself or an unloving thought towards someone else. And you erase and you replace. So you master your thoughts, you master your feelings, you master your choices. So I'm going to pass around this bag with a rubber band, and you're going to wear it for 1 week, and you're going to master your thoughts. And if you have an unloving thought towards yourself or an unloving thought towards someone else, you are going to replace it. And I've given you some affirmations to say, because we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day. 90% of those are usually negative. And the affirmations that I've given you on this piece of paper is: I love and approve of myself. It is safe for me to experience joy in every area of my life. I love life. I relax and let life flow joyously. I lovingly forgive myself. I am free. Did you know in the Course in Miracles, they say all illness is from lack of forgiveness? All illness is from lack of forgiveness. Forgiving ourselves and forgiving everybody else. I know when my mother passed away, all my siblings were around her bed, and we all said the Ho'oponopono prayer to my mother before she died. I love you and I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. Thank you for being you. I love you and I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. And I love all of you. I love all of you in this room. I love you. Please forgive me. And thank you for being you. And saying it to yourself. I see with love and understanding, and I hold all of my experiences up to the light of love. Every experience is perfect for my growth process. I am at peace with where I am. I create my own experiences, and as I love and approve of myself and others, my experience gets better and better and better. Love chases me down and follows me around every corner. I trust that everything is happening for my highest good. I am alive to the joys of living, and I deserve and expect the very best in life. So this is the love diet, the real love diet. So for 1 week, you're going to master your thoughts, master your feelings, master your choices. Because remember, we make our beliefs and then our beliefs make us. And a belief is just a thought we keep thinking over and over again. So it's how we talk to ourselves. It's how we talk to ourselves. I'm looking at the time. How are we doing on time, Teresa? Oh, great. So I encourage you guys to go on the love diet and speak. It's how we speak to ourselves. Speaking to ourselves, that's the best self-care, is being loving and kind to ourselves. Giving ourselves a break, wearing life like a loose garment. Don't get your panties all up in a wad. Wear life like a loose garment. I love what one of my spiritual teachers says, I strive for imperfection. Life is imperfect, life is messy, and giving ourselves a break and not being so critical with ourselves and just being gentle with ourselves. I love what the Dalai Lama says, my religion is kindness, and the kindness starts with myself and then kind to other people. Just being a natural uplifter, as Ram Dass says, we're all here just to walk each other home. We're all just here to walk each other home. Just one nice, natural, uplifting, kind comment to someone. Atta girl, you can do it. Proud of you. So proud of who you are. And it starts with being proud of ourselves. So try the love diet. And Al-Anon is a great support group. If you guys need support, Al-Anon is a great place to get for people, alcoholics and people with mental illness. Al-Anon is I've been there 25 years, and it really teaches me to just put down the magnifying glass and pick up the mirror, focusing on what I can do for myself, self-care, getting massages, going for nice walks, take bubble baths. I take a lot of naps. I'm a big sleep person, and sleep is number one. You also learn in the recovery group, HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Most of us are tired. I made sure, because I was speaking today, to go to bed early, not to be on our phones. I know a lot, if I am not sleeping well, I am sideways. I cannot be on my love diet having loving, kind thoughts when I'm exhausted. Sleep is number one. Put your phones away, put your computer away, and get your sleep. Sleep is number one. A lot of us are just here. We have a mother here with a newborn. I'm sure she's like, yes, I would love to go to sleep. Oh my God. Sleep is number one. It makes us so fatigued. When I don't sleep, I am just eating a bunch of sugar and coffee to try to get the energy, and then I'm trying to have good thoughts, and I'm just ruminating, and I'm exhausted. Then I drink more coffee and eat more sugar, and then I feel more like crap. So really hungry, angry, lonely, tired, and have a support group. Go out with girlfriends or guys. I go to Pete's Coffee in the morning. There's a group of guys there every morning that socialize. Make sure you socialize outside of your work life and not isolate, and really have a group of people. Find an Al-Anon meeting, get a support group where you can talk to other people about what you're going through and share it with someone. Have a partner, maybe someone through the West Side Coalition that you can sit and talk to and share your experience, strength, and your frustrations and your pain around all that stuff. And I know that there's also tapping. People do a lot of tapping, or even giving ourselves a hug. hugging ourselves, I love you and I'm sorry, Susan, please forgive me and thank you. If we don't love ourselves, how can we expect anyone else to love us? I know some people can't even look in their own eyes in the mirror. How can we expect other people to look in our eyes when we can't even look in our own eyes? And we have to start loving ourselves. And and knowing our love languages. There's 5 love languages: touch, time, acts of service, gifts, and compliments. Touch, I love touch. I'm a touch junkie. I love touch. Touch, time is not my love language. I like a lot of time alone. So I don't like a partner that I spend a lot of time with. I need some time to recalibrate and spend some time alone with myself. Touch, time, acts of service. My son, I think that's his love language. He loves cooking for people. And that's acts of service when you like cooking for people. My son's a great cook. So, or taking out the garbage, or I love when my husband does the dishes for me. It throws a load of laundry and acts of service. Gifts. Some people love gifts. They love gifts, a flower or, just a nice thank you card. And then there's compliments. I'm a sucker for compliments. I love compliments. So knowing your love languages and making sure you're giving that love language to yourself. Touch, time, acts of service, gifts, and compliments. And the happiest marriages, Dr. John Gottman did a 20-year study of the happiest marriages. And what he found was 5 positives for every 1 negative in a 20-year interaction, with 5 positives for every 1 negative. So I say happy marriages, how about happy children? 5 positives for every 1 negative. How about a happy relationship with ourselves? When we criticize ourselves, how about saying 5 positives after that? Because we're so hard on ourselves. So when you insult yourself, say 5 positives after that. Happy marriage, happy children, happy friends. When you insult your friend, maybe say 5 positives after that. So that was Dr. John Gottman's study of happy marriages. Isn't that really cool? So remember, every morning, you guys, I write a thank you list. Every morning I write a thank you list as if it's already happened. Thank you for the healing in Turkey. Thank you for the healing in Syria. Thank you for the healing of these homeless people on the streets. Thank you for their healing. Thank you for the healing of the mentally ill. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the healing of my son. Thank you for the healing of my brother. Thank you for, I even thank the universe for my marriage before it even showed up. Thank you for my beautiful marriage. I thank the universe as if it's already happened. Every thought is a prayer. So thank even before it happened. Pre-paving your future, remembering your future. Most of us remember our past. I encourage you to remember your future. If you look in the rear view mirror, you're going to crash your car. Look in the windshield of potentiality. Don't look back. What happened to Lot's wife when she looked back? She turned to salt. The dead bury the dead. Go forward. Remember your future. Write a thank you list as if it's already happened. I do that every morning, and I close my eyes and imagine Turkey, those people healing, the people in Syria healing, the war ending. Just I imagine, I smell, feel, touch, taste, hugging. No divisiveness, no political divisiveness, everyone loving each other, no matter who you are, man, woman, old, whatever, young, whatever you are, we're coming together as a beautiful community of love and service. And I remember my future. And then I wake up as if my prayers have already been answered, and I put on some music and dance and celebrate as if it's already happened. Wake up as if your prayers have already happened. We don't get what we want, we get what we are. We don't get what we want, we get what we are. Imagine that Santa Monica and the West Side Coalition, the West Side community is already healed. Think from the end. I call it the end game, and marry it with elevated emotion, and do that every morning and watch miracles happen every day. Remember to surround yourself. We are the common denominator of the top 5 people we hang out with. Always go where the love is. Go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. Go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. Remember, what we appreciate appreciates. What we appreciate appreciates. What we utter becomes the outer. Watch your words. What we utter becomes the outer. And my favorite Bible saying, I'm not a big Bible thumb, merry heart doeth good like medicine, and a broken spirit drieth up the bones. A merry heart doeth good like medicine. Dance every day. I dance with my clients. I dance with my 80-year-old clients. I dance when I was raising Ben, I dance in the car, dance and celebrate. Have a merry heart. Wake up as if your prayers have already been answered. We are more energy than matter and more wave than particle. And what we are ripples around the planet. May all beings know love and peace. May all beings know love and peace. May all beings know love and peace. May all beings be free of pain and suffering. May all beings know love and peace, and may it begin with us. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Does anyone have any final questions for me?
If you could send me like the lists of different things that you were offering, I would send it out to everybody that registered both on Zoom and here.
Great.
And those that couldn't make it because of traffic.
Oh, great.
Car accidents.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Yes, Zero Limits, and definitely afterwards, I'll be happy to give you the books on the Ho'oponopono prayer, Zero Limits. And I love YouTube. YouTube is wonderful. Google Dr. Hewlin, Hewlen. He interviews with a bunch of psychiatrists who ask him these questions of how this worked. I didn't know how it worked. I just said it to my son. I had no idea of the background of it until later on, but all I did was out loud, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. Does anyone, Teresa, any questions over there?
Any questions on Zoom? Any closing questions? No?
No? Thank you, you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you.